Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what truly matters in life, especially as I get older? If you're like most people, you've probably spent years chasing things that don't bring you the peace, joy, or fulfillment you expected. The truth is, time becomes far more valuable than anything else, particularly after 70, and the way we use it can shape our happiness for the rest of our lives. In this video, I'm going to share 12 transformative lessons that have helped me release what no longer serves me and embrace the things that truly bring meaning. You'll learn why living for yourself and letting go of the pressure to please others can completely change your life. But that's not all. This video also reveals how releasing past hurts and clutter can free your mind and energy to focus on what matters. Moments of joy, authentic relationships, and self-care. By the end of this video, you'll discover the profound impact that saying no and prioritizing your happiness can have on your overall well-being. Stay with me until the end because the final lesson will completely shift the way you see aging and happiness. Trust me, it's something that could transform your entire perspective on how you live the years ahead. So, grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's dive into these life-changing insights. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. Obsessing over others' opinions. For so many years, I was a prisoner of the relentless worry about what others thought of me. The fear of judgment controlled every decision I made, what I wore, what I said, and even how I lived my life. It was an exhausting existence, one I didn't realize I was shackled to until much later. I would wake up every day feeling like I had to prove something to someone, only to find myself lost in a sea of external expectations. The constant need to be validated and to seek approval left me feeling drained and disconnected from my true self. It's a burden that so many of us bear, and we don't even realize how unnecessary it is until we stop and take a deep breath. As I've grown older, I've come to understand something profound. The opinions of others matter so little. Most people are so wrapped up in their own lives, their struggles, and their insecurities, that they don't have the time or energy to focus on you as much as they fear. In reality, their judgments are fleeting and often completely irrelevant to who you truly are. The older I get, the more I see how much peace I've robbed myself of by holding on to these fleeting, often negative opinions that never defined me in the first place. And honestly, why on earth would we allow temporary opinions, ones that fade as quickly as they came, to control our lives? It's a waste of time. Wear that bold red lipstick if it makes you smile, and don that bright scarf that reflects the vibrancy inside you, even if it doesn't fit the rules society has decided for your age. Take up that quirky hobby you've been dying to try, whether it's painting, knitting, or even belly dancing. The truth is, no matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. But what matters most is how you feel in your skin. How alive you feel when you follow your passions and wear your true essence unapologetically. Worrying about others' judgments is like carrying a suitcase filled with air. It's heavy for no reason, and it offers no real value. It's time to release it, to let go of the weight that holds you back. When you finally stop living for others, when you embrace your own choices and desires without second-guessing them, life becomes lighter, freer, and infinitely more fulfilling. There is such incredible power at the moment you realize that your only job is to live for yourself, not for the approval of anyone else. The truth is, once you do, you can feel the world open up in ways you never thought possible. It's a freedom I wish for everyone. 2. Trying to keep a perfectly clean home. Let me paint a picture for you, one that might resonate deeply. It's early morning, and you're finally about to sit down with that cup of coffee you've been craving. The warmth of the mug in your hands promises a peaceful start to the day. But as soon as you take that first sip, the thoughts begin to creep in, those endless chores that never seem to stop. The laundry pile stares back at you like a mountain you can't climb, the floors need mopping, and every surface in your home feels like it's demanding your attention. It's overwhelming, isn't it? The feeling that no matter how much you do, there's always more to be done. It can feel like an unending race, one where the finish line always moves farther away. For so many years, I thought the mark of a good home was perfection. Every corner had to shine, every item had to be neatly in place, as if my self-worth could be measured by the cleanliness of my surroundings. But after years of scrubbing, dusting, and endlessly straightening, all that effort left me feeling exhausted, both physically and emotionally. My hands were sore, my back ached, and despite the outward perfection, there was this constant, gnawing frustration within me. An empty feeling, as if I was chasing something that could never be truly attained. I had sacrificed my peace of mind for a fleeting idea of perfection. Here's what I've come to realize, the lesson that has slowly unfolded over time. As we grow older, our time becomes infinitely more precious, and our energy more limited. There's simply no room to waste it on trying to achieve an impossible standard of cleanliness. What does it matter if there's a bit of dust or a few dishes in the sink? Does that truly reflect the essence of who we are or the depth of our lives? No, it doesn't. It's a fleeting detail that fades in significance when you focus on what truly matters. Your peace, your joy, your connection with the people you love. At this stage in life, the things that bring you fulfillment are not found in chasing after an unreachable standard. They're found in the moments that fill your soul. Sitting with a close friend, savoring a good book, or stepping outside to feel the breeze on your face. A warm, inviting home, filled with laughter and memories, matters far more than a spotless countertop or perfectly folded laundry. If you need help, don't hesitate to ask. Whether it's a family member, a friend, or someone you hire, there's no shame in delegating. And if help isn't an option, prioritize the essentials. Let go of the rest. It's okay to leave the dust undisturbed for a while. Life is short, and time slips through our fingers more quickly than we realize. What we truly need is to save our energy for the things that truly enrich our hearts, those meaningful, quiet moments that make life worth living. The memories we create together, the conversations we share, and the simple pleasures that make us smile. I've learned that when you let go of the need for perfection, you open up space for something far more precious: true contentment. A clean home can wait, but the moments of joy, laughter, and connection we share today cannot. So, let go of the dust, and embrace the life that's waiting for you. 3. Holding on to grudges. Grudges. They're like heavy, invisible chains that bind us to the past, stealing our joy and our peace. Holding on to them feels like walking through life carrying an enormous weight, each grudge a stone in the bag we lug around with us. Over time, it becomes harder to breathe, harder to move forward, and harder to truly feel free. I've lived with this weight. I've clung to grudges for far too long. I can remember the sting of betrayal by friends, the unsaid words in arguments with family members that still festered, and even the bitter resentment I held towards strangers who had unknowingly crossed me. It felt like an emotional prison, a place where I was trapped in my thoughts, reliving the pain over and over again. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But here's the painful truth I eventually had to face. Grudges don't serve us. They never do. Holding on to the past hurts only deepens the wound and keeps us stuck in a loop of bitterness and anger. The person who wronged us may have moved on, but we're still standing, weighed down by that invisible burden. I've learned through painful experience that replaying old wounds doesn't punish the person who hurt us. It punishes us over and over again, keeping us in a state of emotional turmoil. Forgiveness, I've come to realize, is not about excusing the actions of others or pretending that the hurt didn't happen. It's not about forgetting. It's about releasing the grip those negative emotions have on us and allowing ourselves to heal and grow. It's an act of self-care, a way to free our hearts and minds from the things that drag us down. I will never forget the moment when I began to let go of the grudges that had burdened me for so long. It was like suddenly finding light after a long time spent in the dark. My chest felt lighter, my heart more open, and I was no longer carrying that constant ache inside me. It felt like I was finally permitting myself to be at peace, to stop fighting battles that no longer mattered. When I asked myself, will this matter when I'm gone? The answer was clear. Most of the time, the answer is no. The grudges, the anger, the unresolved conflicts, they won't matter in the grand scheme of life. What truly matters is the peace we find in letting go, the freedom that comes with forgiveness. Whether the forgiveness comes through a heartfelt conversation, a quiet moment of understanding, or even through silently releasing those feelings within ourselves, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we make room for peace to settle into our hearts. Letting go of grudges is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. It's not just for the other person. It's for you, and for the beautiful, peaceful life you deserve to live. 4. Trying to please everyone. For years, I was trapped in the overwhelming desire to please everyone, constantly stretching myself too thin in an attempt to make others happy. This is a pattern many of us, particularly women, find ourselves in. We are raised with this quiet but powerful message that our worth is defined by how much we can give to others. We say yes to things we don't want to do, commit to events we'd rather avoid, and put ourselves last over and over again. There's a deep-seated fear that saying no might be seen as selfish, that by prioritizing our own needs, we risk disappointing or upsetting the people around us. I remember feeling like I was walking a tightrope, trying to balance everyone else's happiness while neglecting my own. It took me years to realize that this pattern wasn't sustainable. The truth I've learned, through painful trial and error, is that you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly draining your energy to keep everyone else satisfied, you will eventually run dry. Saying no isn't an act of cruelty or indifference. It's a powerful declaration that you respect yourself, your time, and your emotional well-being. It's not selfish, it's necessary. It's about recognizing that your needs are just as important as anyone else's. Now, at this stage in my life, I finally understand that I've earned the right to prioritize my happiness. I've lived long enough to know that my peace matters. I've learned that the people who truly love and care for me will honor my boundaries, and they won't expect me to sacrifice my well-being just to keep them happy. And for those who refuse to respect that, their approval no longer holds any value. I've learned to let go of the need to please everyone, and with that release comes an immense sense of freedom. It's empowering to choose your peace over the constant, exhausting need for external validation. The more I let go, the more I embrace the truth that my happiness is worth protecting, and that is a lesson I wish I had learned sooner. 5. Accumulating things you don't need. I can remember a time when I was so deeply consumed by collecting things. Clothes, gadgets for the kitchen, trinkets to decorate my home. I thought that by having more, I could somehow enrich my life. I believed that those items would bring me comfort, or maybe even happiness. But as I reflect now, I see how wrong I was. It wasn't the physical things that made me happy, but rather the memories and moments that lived beyond any object. Over the years, I've come to understand that possessions don't fill a void in the way we imagine. At first, they seemed like an escape, a way to cope with a sense of emptiness or uncertainty. But eventually, they just piled up, creating chaos in my home and, more profoundly, in my mind. The clutter wasn't just physical. It was emotional too. It clouded my thoughts, making it harder to focus on what truly mattered. Each new item brought a temporary thrill, but that thrill always faded, leaving behind a lingering sense of dissatisfaction. By the time I reached 70, I began to feel a weight lifting as I realized how much of my life had been spent accumulating things that added no real value. I started looking inward, asking myself what I truly needed. It wasn't more stuff. It was more time, more connections, more experiences that made me feel alive. Letting go of all the things I no longer needed wasn't easy at first, but it was liberating. The physical space in my home cleared up, but more importantly, so did the space in my heart. Today, I spend my money, my energy, and my attention on what brings me real joy. Shared meals with loved ones, attending a class to learn something new, or exploring a place I've never seen before. These are the things that nourish my soul. They create memories that stay with me long after the experience has passed. The laughter, the conversations, the beauty of a discovery. These are what make life truly rich. In those moments, I feel more fulfilled than I ever did when I was surrounded by possessions. And with every passing day, I feel more convinced that memories and connections are the treasures worth holding on to, not the things we gather. 6. The futility of pleasing everyone. From an early age, many of us, especially women, are taught to place the needs of others before our own. We are molded into caregivers, peacekeepers, and eternal people-pleasers, often sacrificing our well-being for the sake of keeping others happy. It becomes second nature to say yes to requests, even when it stretches us too thin, simply to avoid the discomfort of disappointing someone or causing conflict. And in the process, we begin to lose ourselves, feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and increasingly unfulfilled. For so many years, I carried this burden with me, believing that saying no, or expressing my own needs, was selfish, unthinkable even. I convinced myself that my worth was tied to how much I could give to others, and how easily I could mold myself into whatever they needed me to be. But as time passed, and with it, the deepening fatigue of trying to please everyone, I began to realize the painful truth. Endlessly giving at the expense of my happiness is not only unsustainable, but it is also deeply unfair to myself. How could I ever expect to be truly happy when I was continually pouring from an empty cup? The harsh reality is that you can't keep giving and giving without eventually depleting your soul. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you unkind or inconsiderate. It makes you more honest with yourself and others. It is an act of self-respect, a recognition of your limits, and a commitment to preserving your time and energy for what truly matters. And though it may be difficult at first, there is a certain power in learning to protect your space. It is, perhaps, one of the most liberating skills you can cultivate. When you finally begin to say no to the things that drain you, you realize something incredibly important. If someone's approval hinges on you sacrificing your peace and happiness, it may be a sign that their opinion is simply not worth your time or emotional investment. This realization is life-changing. It is empowering to realize that your joy and well-being are not negotiable. Those who truly care about you, those who genuinely love you, will understand the importance of you protecting your peace. You have the right to take a step back, to focus on what nourishes your soul, to invest in your happiness, and to prioritize yourself without guilt. It's not selfish, it's survival. And, more importantly, it's the most loving thing you can do for yourself. After all, you are worthy of joy, peace, and fulfillment just as much as anyone else. 7. Letting go of accumulated clutter and overthinking the past. For most of my life, I believed that happiness could be found in the things I owned. The latest clothes, shiny new gadgets, the perfect home decor, and all the other trinkets that promised to make me feel fulfilled. I chased after material possessions, believing they held the key to my happiness, one purchase at a time. And over the years, I amassed an overwhelming collection of things. Items that seemed necessary at the time but gradually began to feel more like a weight. As I reached the age of 70, something profound shifted within me. It was like a gentle awakening, where I began to realize that all the things I had accumulated didn't bring the joy I once imagined they would. Instead, they simply cluttered my life, both physically and mentally, and created an undercurrent of stress I could no longer ignore. I had a closet bursting at the seams with clothes I never wore, shoes I'd only ever tried on once, and dresses that I swore I'd wear one day. My kitchen cabinets were filled with 5 different sizes of mixing bowls, even though I only ever used one. At that moment, it hit me like a wave. Why am I holding on to all this? Do we need the excess in our lives? Are the possessions we accumulate truly bringing us happiness, or are they simply contributing to the noise that drowns out the simple, quiet joys of living? Letting go became an act of liberation, one that allowed me to breathe easier and let go of the invisible weight that had been holding me back. The process wasn't just about clearing physical space, but about creating mental clarity. Each item I let go of was like shedding a layer of unnecessary burden. It wasn't easy, but it was incredibly freeing. And in that freedom, I began to see things differently. I realized that when I let go of things that no longer served me, I made space for what truly mattered. The excess possessions no longer consumed my thoughts or my time. Instead of spending money and energy acquiring more things, I began to focus on experiences, the moments that filled my heart with genuine joy. I found pleasure in the simplest of things: a quiet walk in nature, a conversation with a friend over coffee, and the joy of trying something new like a class I had always wanted to take. These experiences filled my soul in a way that material possessions never could. At the end of the day, we can't take any of these things with us. What remains is the richness of our experiences, the connections we nurture, and the peace we cultivate within our hearts. So, I now prioritize a peaceful, simple environment, and I choose to spend my resources on the things that bring me true happiness. Not the fleeting pleasure of a new possession, but the lasting joy of living with intention. I've come to understand that less really is more. And as I let go of the clutter, I made room for a life that feels fuller and more meaningful. 8. Staying silent about your needs. For so much of my life, I remained silent about my needs and desires. It was almost second nature to me. Whether it was out of politeness, the fear of being labeled as difficult, or an overwhelming urge not to bother anyone, I kept quiet. I convinced myself that staying silent was the way to maintain peace, to keep things simple. But deep down, I knew the toll it was taking on me. Small annoyances and unmet needs began to stack up over time. They slowly turned into something much more significant: feelings of frustration, isolation, and even resentment. I didn't realize it then, but in choosing silence, I was allowing these emotions to fester and grow like weeds in my soul. I thought I was protecting others, but in reality, I was hurting myself. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. As I've gotten older, I've come to a profoundly liberating realization. Life is far too short to keep tiptoeing around your own needs. We don't have endless time to wait for people to read our minds or guess how we feel. We can't expect others to intuitively know what we require when we stay silent. In the past, I thought speaking up would create conflict, that it would make me seem demanding or selfish. But with age, I've learned that it's not selfish to voice your needs. It's essential. It's about standing up for yourself, honoring your feelings, and making your voice heard. Whether it's asking for a little help around the house, expressing your longing for more quality time with the people you love, or even something as simple as sending back an incorrect order at a restaurant, speaking up is a form of self-respect. I've found that, in doing so, I feel a weight lift from my shoulders. There's a powerful sense of relief and empowerment when you stop holding everything in and start being honest about what you need. What has been most surprising, however, is that when I finally started advocating for myself, people were far more understanding than I ever imagined. I had been so afraid of burdening others, but in truth, most people appreciate the clarity. They want to help, they just don't always know how. By expressing what I need, I've found that my relationships have become stronger and more genuine. I've learned that honesty, especially when wrapped in kindness and respect, is a bridge that brings people closer. It's not about demanding things from others. It's about being open and vulnerable, trusting that your feelings and comfort matter. It's an incredibly empowering feeling when you realize that your happiness is just as important as anyone else's. And I mean this with all my heart. If you don't stand up for your happiness and well-being, who will? No one can read your mind, and no one will know what you truly need unless you speak up. Life is far too short to bottle up your emotions and desires. Your voice is meant to be heard, Your needs are meant to be acknowledged, and your comfort is worth every bit of effort it takes to express it. It's not selfish, it's necessary. 9. Stop comparing yourself to others. How many times have you caught yourself scrolling through social media or glancing at someone's life and thought, "Why don't I have what they have?" Maybe it's the neighbor who's always jetting off on glamorous vacations, or the friend whose family seems picture perfect, always laughing, always together. Or perhaps it's the person you know who, despite being the same age as you, has that radiant, youthful glow that seems to defy time. It's so easy to fall into the trap of comparison, especially as we age, and let me tell you, it's something I've struggled with too. But I've learned over time, sometimes painfully, that comparison truly is the thief of joy. It's tempting to believe that the lives of others are somehow better than our own. But if we dig just a little deeper, we realize that what we see on the surface is rarely the full story. That neighbor who always appears to be on some exotic adventure might be hiding a deep sense of loneliness, a yearning for companionship that they can't find. That perfect-looking family we envy could be silently battling their unseen struggles, whether it's financial stress, emotional pain, or the quiet tension of unspoken issues. And that friend who seems so youthful and vibrant, beneath the surface, they might be wrestling with their insecurities and fears, things they'll never admit to anyone. The truth is, no one's life is without its challenges or its hidden burdens. But we don't always see that, do we? As I've gotten older, I've come to realize the one person I should be comparing myself to is the person I was yesterday. Is my heart a little lighter today? Is my mind a little more at peace? Have I made progress, however small, in the direction I want to go? These are the only measures of success that truly matter, and when I remind myself of this, it shifts my whole perspective. Rather than comparing my life to someone else's highlight reel, I focus on my growth and my journey. There are moments, of course, when I fall into the trap of comparison. It's human nature to feel that tug of envy, that desire for something we don't have. But I've learned to respond to that feeling with gratitude. I stop and ask myself, what am I truly grateful for right now? As I reflect, I realize how much I have, how rich my life is with love, peace, and moments of quiet joy that are often more valuable than any outward achievement. Gratitude, I've found, is the most powerful antidote to envy, and it helps me reconnect with the beauty of my unique path. So, if you're finding yourself caught in the web of comparison, take a step back and remember this. Your journey is yours alone, and it's more than enough. You don't need to measure your worth by someone else's yardstick. Celebrate where you are, the progress you've made, and the person you've become. After all, no one else is living your life. You are, and that in itself is something truly remarkable. 10. Let go of worrying about others' opinions and say no when you mean it. For so many years, I found myself constantly consumed by the thoughts of others. I worried about what they might think of me, how I looked, what I said, and whether the decisions I made were the right ones. Every action felt like a careful calculation, a dance to make sure I was doing everything perfectly in their eyes. The pressure, the constant striving for approval, it was exhausting, and yet I kept pushing myself, not realizing how much it was draining me. But here's the truth I wish I'd learned much earlier. People are so wrapped up in their own lives, their struggles, and their desires, that they barely have the time, let alone the energy, to scrutinize mine. When I turned 70, everything changed. It was like a sudden, quiet realization came over me. I simply didn't have the energy to care about the opinions of others anymore. The years ahead of me seemed too precious to spend on anyone else's expectations. I could no longer afford to chase after their fleeting approval. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. Their judgments didn't contribute to my happiness, they didn't pay my bills, and they certainly wouldn't matter in 5 years, or even tomorrow. What truly defines me, what truly matters in the grand scheme of things, is the way I choose to live my life. My choices, my kindness, and how I treat the people around me. Their opinions are transient, a fleeting moment in time, whereas the choices I make will stay with me, shaping my peace and fulfillment. Now, I wear what feels good to me, I speak my truth, and I live in alignment with my values, whether or not anyone approves. I've learned that when someone doesn't like what I do or say, that's their problem, not mine. And the beauty of it all is this: I'm finally free. Free from the weight of judgment. Free from the chains of expectations. The next time you find yourself caught up in what others might think of you, take a deep breath and ask yourself the simple question: does their opinion add anything meaningful to your life? Or is it just noise filling up space in my mind? In most cases, it's the latter. So, let it go. Let it all go. Live with boldness, live unapologetically, and live with the fierce conviction that you are enough, exactly as you are. Embrace the freedom that comes with living for yourself and yourself alone. That's the real joy in life. 11. Stop trying to solve everyone's problems. It's a deeply ingrained part of human nature to want to help those we love. For many years, I carried the belief that it was my responsibility to fix everything. The family, my friends, and even acquaintances who crossed my path. If someone was going through a tough time or struggling with a personal challenge, I would rush in, ready to offer advice and solutions, or simply try to take on their burden for them. I thought in my heart that I was showing kindness by doing so. After all, isn't that what people who care about each other do? But as time passed and I grew older, a powerful realization began to dawn on me. You cannot fix everything for everyone. It is simply not possible, and more importantly, it's not your place. Everyone's struggles have a deeper meaning. They are part of a unique journey, a path that can only be walked by the person facing it. I've learned that these challenges, these moments of hardship, are not just obstacles but teachers. They teach resilience, independence, and invaluable life lessons that build strength from within. The urge to step in and save someone from their pain comes from a place of love and compassion, but it's so easy to forget that by doing so, we sometimes rob them of the opportunity to grow. I remember the times I tried to fix my loved ones' issues, believing I was making their lives better. But in the end, I was only delaying their growth, stealing their chance to stand on their own, to learn how to handle their struggles. This realization was humbling and difficult to accept at first. When I finally allowed myself to step back, to release that overwhelming urge to solve everything, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time: peace. It was as if a heavy weight had been lifted from my shoulders. The freedom that came from letting go was something I cannot even begin to describe. There was no guilt in stepping back, no sense of abandoning the people I loved. Instead, I was giving them the space to navigate their own lives, to learn, to evolve. And in doing so, I was honoring both their autonomy and my well-being. It became clear to me that sometimes the greatest act of love is simply being there for someone, to listen, to offer a comforting word, or to lend a hand when they truly need it, but not to take over their battles for them. At this stage in my life, I've come to understand that my focus needs to be on living fully, joyfully, and authentically, not drowning in worries or attempting to control every outcome, especially those things that lie beyond my reach. My energy is a precious gift, one that I can't afford to give away to every person's struggle. Of course, I offer kindness and compassion when I can, but I no longer let the weight of other people's burdens consume me. In doing so, I've found a deeper, more profound sense of tranquility, a balance that wasn't possible when I tried to carry the world on my shoulders. By honoring my own needs, I can preserve my energy and, in turn, give it more meaning, more purpose, and more genuine love. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Letting go of the need to fix everything has been one of the most freeing decisions I've made. It's not about walking away from the people you care about. It's about trusting them to face their struggles, knowing they are capable, and respecting their ability to grow stronger through them. It's a lesson in love, in trust, and in the importance of self-care. 12. Stop neglecting your happiness. This is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful lessons I've ever learned. Looking back at the long years of my life, I can't help but realize how often I put others first. My children, my partner, my career, my friends. I spent so much time focusing on everyone else that I let my happiness slip through the cracks. I constantly told myself that someday I'd focus on myself, and that there would be time later to enjoy life fully. But here's the painful truth that hits harder with age. Someday doesn't always come. Life moves in a blur, faster than we ever expect, and suddenly you're standing still, looking back, and asking yourself where the years have gone. It's heart-wrenching, isn't it? You wonder how much time you wasted waiting for that elusive moment when you could finally prioritize yourself. But happiness, I've come to learn, isn't something you simply find by chance. It's a conscious choice, one that you must make every single day. And let me tell you, after 70, the realization hits you like a gentle wave. There is no later to wait for. You deserve to be happy right now, in this moment. It's never too late. The moment you recognize this truth, you feel a freedom that is beyond words. Happiness looks different for everyone, and that's okay. It might mean picking up a brush to finally paint the picture you've always wanted to create, or tending to a garden that blooms with the peace and serenity you've longed for. For some, it could be the joy of traveling, of finally seeing the world you've only ever dreamed of. Maybe it's as simple as picking up the phone to reconnect with a dear friend from years ago, or dedicating time to a hobby that makes your heart race with excitement. It could even mean those quiet moments where you sink into a cozy chair, the world outside melting away, as you lose yourself in a good book. Nothing but you and the story, free from interruptions or obligations. For me, this journey was deeply personal. I had to learn, truly learn, to say the words, "I deserve to be happy too." I never realized how powerful these words could be until I said them out loud, and it was as if a weight was lifted off my shoulders. For so long, I had told myself that my happiness was secondary, that there was always something or someone else that needed my attention. But when I embraced the idea that my well-being was just as important as anyone else's, everything changed. My life began to shift, slowly but surely. The burden of trying to please everyone, the worry over what others might think, it all faded into the background. I stopped wasting my precious time on things that didn't matter, on trying to fix things that weren't mine to fix. And in doing so, I freed myself. I freed myself to focus on what truly brought me joy, on the little things, the things that made my soul smile. And let me tell you, once you start making happiness a priority, your whole outlook on life changes. Everything feels lighter, brighter, and more vibrant. No longer are you merely going through the motions of existence. You're living fully, with purpose and passion. The days may not be as long as they once were, but they can still be rich with meaning. There is so much beauty to be found in the here and now, so much to cherish. You don't need endless time. You just need the courage to start. So, let go of the need to fix everything. Stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Embrace your happiness and your well-being as one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. You've earned it. You are worth it. And as you do, you'll find that the world around you becomes a reflection of the joy you've chosen to cultivate within yourself. As we reflect on everything we've shared today, I hope you've gained some valuable insights about prioritizing your happiness, especially as you grow older. It's never too late to make yourself a priority, to choose joy, and to embrace the freedom that comes with living life on your terms. So, what have you learned so far? I'd love to hear from you. Please comment below and share one thing you've learned today that you plan to put into practice in your own life. Remember, happiness isn't just a destination. It's a daily choice. If you liked this video, please leave your comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content just like this. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to reading your thoughts and learning alongside you. Take care, and remember, the best is yet to come.